Dubs with the How to Trade It podcast, and today I'm really excited to bring on Teri Ijeoma from Trade and Travel. Hi Teri, how are you doing?
I'm good, Casey. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm really excited to be here and learn some really cool stuff about you and about what you do today. So, can you get started by telling us a little bit about how you got started in trading? I know that after reading some things about you, that you started in education and then you made transition to trading. So, can you share a little bit about how that worked?
Sure. So, my name is Teri Ijeoma, and I'm just so excited to be here with you. Like, it's fun to talk to another trader because I feel like you get it. But yes, I was in education for about 10 years, and I went to MIT for undergrad, had majored in management, worked on Wall Street, like interned at Morgan Stanley, but then decided I don't want to be here for 24 hours a day, so I'm going to go a different route. And I started consulting out of college, and one of our clients was Teach for America. So from there, I ended up working at Teach for America, went down this full line of education until I was an assistant principal of an elementary school. But as you know, education, we don't make that much. So I traded on the side to supplement my income. And it was just like a fun hobby, but there got to a point where I was just like, you know what? This job sucks. I was exhausted, I was overwhelmed, just everything. And so I said, you know what? I think I'm going to try to make trading my full time job. And I really only needed $300 to replace my income. So I was like, you know what? If I could just make $300 a day in the stock market, then I could quit. And that's how I really started getting into it and said, you know what? I think I can do this. Like I've made $100 a day, I made $200 a day, and then finally got to that $300 a day mark and started traveling all the way around the world trading stocks. So that's how I got started.
That's really cool. So right off the bat, I can say that yes, I do get it. I'm a trader, but I can also tell you that you're a lot smarter than me because you went to MIT. So we're definitely not on the same level. But anyways,
Yes, we are. I'm with you. We right here. No, I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
um, yeah. I started college and I said I'm out of here. um, anyways, tell me a little bit about the $300 a day. Like, how long did it take you to feel really comfortable and say, whoa, this is like so much better than working?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember the moment that I actually made like $3,000 in a day. I was at work. And I remember my principal coming in the office and I was like trading. You're not supposed to trade at work, but I'm sitting here on my computer and all of a sudden it says order field. And my principal, he just looks at me. I think he was just like, what was that? We both like looked at each other and I knew that day I was like, dang, I just made more in one day than my whole salary all month, which was crazy. But you asked me about the $300 a day. I've been trading now for 10 years, but it really took me the first 6 years. I was trying to figure it out all by myself. So I would make some, lose a lot. I would have like these serious convictions in a stock, and then it wouldn't go right. But I would be like, no, I'm going to hold this forever because it's going to come back. So, needless to say, the first 6 years were not so great. But after about that 6 year mark, I started taking classes and actually learning from real traders, and it started to click. Then I started learning about risk management and learning about, oh, there's a thing called a stop loss, and oh, like you can actually like read charts, and then it started to click. So for about the last it took about probably like a year or so of really learning from other traders, and then from there I started being more consistent.
Okay, now were you working at the school the whole time for the 6 years?
For the 6 years, I had different jobs, but yes. So
Yeah.
I worked in Teach for America in their admin department, like training teachers. I worked in a ministry. So I worked in Chicago for an after school ministry where we were like helping kids to learn about God, but then also like do their homework. And I was doing like the strategy work for them. And so this is like that 6 year period. But I'm also like, whenever I get a chance, I'm on CNBC listening about companies, but then going and doing my work. And then after that is when I started being an assistant principal.
Okay, well, that is pretty cool. I think that's like most people's dream that are involved in the stock market because they're all working. Not everybody, but most of the people that I talk to, they're working and they're just hoping that someday someday they'll make enough money trading to leave the job, and you have been able to do that. So that's pretty exciting. Like, I'm really happy just hearing that.
Thank you. You know what? I think the biggest thing when you're doing this as a side hustle, though, is to remember to take small gains. Like, if you're taking like small, consistent gains, it will eventually add up. I feel like when I was trying to like, shoot for the stars and make a ton of money, that's when I would always lose. But those small, consistent gains, even as like just a side hustle, that will start adding up. And then feel like that's when it was a turning point for me.
Okay, and I think that's a really good point, because what has happened to me in the past, if I'm always focused on massive numbers, and I don't always focus on risk, but I'm like, okay, I'm running calculations in my mind. Okay, if I can do this and this, and I'm not very good at math, but I can always see the big numbers. Like, okay, I could make $2 million if I do this, this, and this, and all I got to do is this, and then I just get really carried away, and it causes me to make a lot of stupid mistakes and take extra risks.
Yep, yep. I've been there.
Yeah. So as far as investing, there's a lot of things that are going around. People don't really understand everything that's involved because they don't teach a lot about this in school. I think, being an educator, there's a lot about the markets that people don't know because it's almost not even talked about in school. So could you tell me a couple common myths that are out there about investing and trading?
Yes. One big myth is it takes a lot of money to get started. And actually, it doesn't. I like with my students now, I tell them, hey, you can open an account with $500. Yes, as you starting to grow. So, like, as a trader, my goal is to make like 1% of my cash amount. So, of course, you want to have more money, you can make more with more, but it doesn't take a lot to get started. And I think that's one myth that stops people from, I don't even want to start because I don't have enough. So, that's one myth. Another myth I see a lot is, oh, it's a gamble. And like, yes, everything is a gamble. It's kind of like for me, equate it to like taking a free throw. Yes, there's a probability you're not going to make it, and there's a probability you're going to make it. Like it's 50% chance. However, you get somebody like Steph Curry, and he has like a 90% free throw average. So there are ways to become a better trader to like make your odds better and have higher probabilities of being successful. And you can do that with reward to risk ratios and reading charts. Like there's ways to help us. Like, well, this. I'm talking to the choir, but another myth that I find a lot is people think the only way to trade is to buy and hold. And I run into that a lot. Like, well, Warren Buffett said you just got to buy and hold. But like, you can actually like make quite a bit of money being an active investor. And like, the numbers are there. Like my students are down like $1,000 a day. Like I just hit like a 6-figure a day. Like it's possible. You make big money. Like it's possible, but there's just some myth that hey, like the only way to do it is to buy and hold. So those are a couple that I see so much.
I think that's good. Those are some good things to think about. And yeah, the money is a big one. I always thought that I had to save up $25,000 because they always talk about that because there's the day trading rule that you have to have $25,000 to start. So if that seems like a mental barrier, 25, how do you get around that? If there is a rule saying you can't trade a certain amount if you don't have 25,000.
What I found is I have like this little portfolio rotation that I do. So instead of always buying a stock buying a stock and selling it in the same day, I have kind of a rotation going on. So I may like we were talking about AMD earlier. I may buy AMD stock today, but then tomorrow it's kind of going up towards my goal. So I haven't sold it yet, but then I have another one that tomorrow I'll buy. And then they'll switch over. At the time that I'm selling, this one is now in the area where it's becoming like it's growing towards my goal, and I'll bring another one in. So I'm selling one and bringing a different one in. So I'm making money on a regular basis, but I'm not always buying and selling the same stock in the same day. Does that make sense? So more of a
Right.
swing thing, but just if you have a rotation going on, you don't always have to worry about breaking those 3 trades in 5 trading days rule.
I got it. That makes a lot of sense. And it's not really required to make multiple day trades to make a good return, correct?
Exactly. What I always say is I look at the market every day, but that doesn't mean that I'm making a trade every day or that I'm trading that same stock in that day.
Now, I heard you say earlier that you were looking at 1%. Is that a rule as far as your trading strategy goes, that you're looking for a 1% return? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So now, of course, I'm making much more than 1%, but I felt like in the beginning, it was just nice to have a goal. In the beginning, like if I was just trading and kind of like, okay, I'm gonna buy this and make this much money, but there was no goal in mind, then I didn't have anything to hit. And then especially with me, I was trading and traveling, so I had like bills and different things that I really needed money for. So it was like, okay, I have this trip to Greece that's gonna cost me $3,500. If I break that down into 10 days, if I just make $350 a day, I can pay for my trip. So I needed like a goal. And I found that when I was looking at my certain cash amount, if I just tried to go for 1% of that cash amount, I could easily hit that every day and be satisfied. So for me, it was like, okay, if I have $30,000 to make $300 a day, that's just 1% a day, and then that was my goal, and I could hit it. So that's where that came from, and it seems
Okay.
like it's been something that's like, this is easily achievable. But once you start putting in margin and things, like you can make much more than that in a day.
Right. So if you started out with $500, 1% would be $50, right?
No, it'd be $5, I think.
Oh, $5. Okay, $5.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just
Okay. So that's
small
actually
little bits.
that's actually not a lot of money. Like,
It's not, but when you start getting bigger, so for example, like $2,000, $20 a day is $100 a week, $400 a month. That's still a 20% return on your money, which is
right.
much bigger than the annual for the market. And then you can double your money in 5 months, even with just that 1% a day. So it starts adding up over time.
Yeah, so that I think that's pretty encouraging, and I like that. So now, though, you're looking for bigger gains. What type of targeting do you use for your trades? Do you have a percent profit for your targets, or is there another way that you look to exit?
Mine is based on my risk tolerance. So if my risk tolerance is $300 a day, every trade I'm taking is a 3-to-1 reward to risk ratio. So that means that my reward would be three times that. So that would be $900 is what I'm looking for on that trade because my risk tolerance is 300. So now my risk tolerance is up to 100,000. So I'll be looking for, if I'm taking this trade, I want to make at least three times that 100,000, which is actually like it's pretty steep, but like mine is always based on my risk tolerance.
Yeah. Now, when it hits that 3-to-1 ratio, do you automatically close the trade?
No, because so the way that I'm actually looking at the trade in advance is I'll be looking at the chart and I'm looking for formations in the chart. So I'm looking like where are the banks buying, where are the banks selling. So for me, there's sometimes where from where I'm thinking that the banks are buying to where the banks are selling is actually like a 4-to-1 reward to risk ratio. If that's the case, I'll let it keep running. But if I've like met my goal and there's like something I want to pay for, it's like right now I'm building up towards paying for a house in cash. So if I'm looking for a goal, then I might at that goal change it to like a trailing stop and let it keep going up. So at least I lock in my goal and then I can let the rest run.
I see. Okay, that's good, and that allows your winners to go further to get even bigger targets if it's on a roll. And sometimes it'll go really far, and you much farther than what you expected. Have you experienced that?
I have. There's been a couple times where like like you set a trade down and you're like, okay, it's probably gonna end pretty soon. And then you come back at the end of the day and you're like, wait, what? It's so much bigger than I thought it was. So yes, I have.
Yeah, and pressing your winners like that is pretty cool because that's one of the things that can really help you grow quicker. Is if you're averaging $300 days, that's great, but then what happens out of the sudden? You get a $2,000 day. And that's not common, but it's like a windfall, and it just hits, and then that's really exciting when you're able to do that.
Especially now, we've had so much volatility. It's been a lot. It's like it's harder because it's volatile, but at the same time for traders, our stocks are moving so much more in a day that you can actually start amplifying your trades a lot bigger,
Yeah.
a lot faster.
So one of the things that I really liked hearing about when I was reading over some of your information is that you like to travel a lot. I personally also like to travel. So can you tell me a little bit about it? Because your site is Trade and Travel. Tell me the address again.
Yes, so if they go to tradeandtravel.com, you'll actually see,
Okay.
like, a free webinar there and learn more about me, but, yeah, so when I left the school, I packed all my stuff into 2 suitcases and hit the road, so I went to South Korea for a month, Thailand for a month, Vietnam for a month, Australia, Fiji, came home for a little while. I actually was in seminary at the time, so finished up seminary for grad school, and then went to, Israel, Italy. I'm trying to think all the places. I was just on the road. I was gone.
Did you
'Cause
save up in advance for all that, or were you trading while you were traveling?
I was trading while I was traveling, so that's
Wow.
where it came from. Yep, that's what I was using to pay for everything.
It's
I
like I'm
had
stuck here for a while until I will close a few winning trades.
right? But you know what? What I used to get started, because some people are always like, "Well, Terry, where did the first money come from?" In my jobs, I had always put money into my 401k up to the company's match. And then I moved that money over into like a self-directed IRA and had started trading that when I was learning while I was still at school. I mean, still like a principal. And then once I got good, that was like my first seed money. And so like that's the money that I was trading to live off of when I was traveling.
So we haven't been traveling much recently because of everything going on, but are you planning on continuing your travel schedule here again in the near future?
Yes, this year I was supposed to work a month, travel a month, work a month, travel a month. I started off, I was here, and then I went to South Africa and I was in Cape Town for a month. Then I came back here, and of course, because of like all the craziness, I couldn't go anywhere. So my goal was to be in Bali this year. I wanted to do India this year. So yes, as soon as we can get back on the road, I want to be all over the world.
So when you're traveling, I noticed that you did a couple events for training. Are you doing events at every location that you visit?
I started a tour last year where I did get to see my students and I would go to different places, but of course because of COVID we can't really do that anymore. But I still have a lot of international students. I actually have a big group in Germany of all places, and I have a group in Canada. So yes, I can't wait to go and visit them.
Yeah, that's really cool. I lived in Germany for 4 years, so it was a really nice place to stay. I really enjoyed that a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Is there a place that you like your favorite place in Germany?
Oh, you know what? I don't really have a favorite place. I was in the military, so I was in Schweinfurt, and I traveled all over Europe, and that was where I got really, I wasn't trading and traveling, but I was in the army, so I took advantage of it, and I traded all over. I went all over Europe and really enjoyed it. And from
Nice.
there, I continue to travel also, even now. And I do a lot of church work also. I do mission
Oh,
trips and
cool.
things like that. So, one of my favorite places to visit is Guatemala. I
Oh,
take trips
cool.
there quite often.
I have never been there. I'll have to go. That sounds so
Oh,
cool.
it's a really, really cool place. Excellent, excellent
Oh,
trip. Yeah.
I haven't been yet to South America. And it's random because you would think that it's like one of the closest places, but I really want to explore South America. I really want to explore like I've been to Asia quite a bit, but I haven't been to like India area. Like there's so many places I still want to
So, when
explore.
you're traveling, are you traveling all by yourself?
Sometimes, yes. So the Israel trip was all by myself. The Australia trip was half by myself, but actually a friend came down last minute, so that was such a blessing because it was just nice to have someone else with me. And then on the first part, I did it with a little group, and they actually were the ones who convinced me to start doing a class and teaching because they were the ones that were always asking me like, "Terry, can we go to coffee? I want to learn more about this investing thing. Oh, can we do this? I want to learn more." So they actually are the first people who encouraged me to do a class and teach other people how to invest.
Oh, that's really good that you had some good encouragement getting you out there, take a step outside your comfort zone a little bit.
Yes. Because you know what? The truth is, I was very content just trading and traveling by myself. I was like, you know what? I don't want a boss. I don't want a job. I just want to be free. And that was like the most fun time in my life. So it did take some encouragement to say, okay, now we want you to teach. But I think that's just part of giving back. Like don't have all this knowledge and not tell anybody else about it, you know?
Yeah, I know some people don't want to give away their trading secrets because they feel like it could hinder them in their profits. Like, oh, if I give away all my trading secrets, then I won't be able to continue to do that. My
Mhm.
strategy will be overused, the market will change, and then I will start losing. And I think that's kind of like a scarcity mindset, whereas I'm more of a uh, sharing mindset. The more you share, the more you get.
I agree, and I feel like I'm such a small fish, like, if everybody I know did what I did, the market still will do what it wants to do, like, there's so much out there for everybody.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, tell me a little bit more about your strategy. Like, how do you find the right stocks to pick, and how do you know once you find those stocks, how do you get into them? Like, is there a certain trigger that you're looking for?
Mhm. So I have a watch list of about 30 companies that I've been following for a very long time. And every now and again, I'll have a new company that'll come into the list, but I'm one of those traders that's like trade what you know and like not in terms of like a trend trader, but like I've been following these stocks for quite a while, so I have like that same watch list. What I'm looking for is I do like healthy companies. So like for example, I wasn't trading the airlines when they got really low, even though they were on my watch list because like they kind of broke down, so they're not healthy. I was looking for the ones that are healthy. I'm usually looking for ones that are on an uptrend, although I do short quite a bit and I do try to make money on the way down, but I'm usually looking for just healthy companies that I know will be around for the long run. And then in terms of like how do I know when to get in, I'm a technical analysis trader, so I'm looking for formations from candlesticks that tell me, okay, this is where we think that there's a lot of open buy orders, or this is where we think there's a lot of open sell orders. And for me, I'm assuming that's big banks. So I'm thinking that is the Morgan Stanley order, that's the Goldman Sachs order. Of course, I don't know for sure, but the formation is saying there's a lot of activity here that's making the candles do what they do. So then I'm looking to get in when the banks are getting in and get in when the banks are selling. And when I do get in, I'm looking at a risk manage like I have a pretty vigorous risk management plan because I've lost money in the past, like everybody has. So I'm very much like, okay, this is my risk tolerance. How much quantity can I buy to stay in this tolerance? How where does my stop loss needs to be in this risk tolerance so that I know going into every trade, this is how much I stand to lose and this is how much I stand to win, and then I can be more productive and make more consistent gains. So that's kind of like what I'm doing to trade.
Now, you said earlier that your 30 list is healthy companies. What is your criteria for determining healthy companies?
Now you know that's my secret. I can't be giving all my secrets,
At least give me a general idea.
But so that one point about being on an uptrend, I'm usually looking for stocks that have been on an uptrend over the past year. So that's really important for me. As a trader, I'm looking for things that move at least $1 a day. And because we're looking for things that move $1 a day, I'm usually not in the penny stocks. Like that's not my thing. I'm looking for more like healthies or hell, I can't use the word healthy, but most of my companies are above $10 and like even into the thousands of dollars. I'm looking for companies that are well, those are several, especially like the dollar a day movement and the uptrend. So like those are some of the ones that I'm thinking of as healthy.
Yeah, I think dollar a day is a really good idea. I hadn't actually thought of that until you just mentioned it because, if you get in and it goes up $1, that could be a fairly percent increase. Like if you're looking at 1%, that could be 1% right there.
Right, exactly. So for me, like I tell people, if you were trying to just make $300 a day and you were in a stock that moves $1 a day, if you have 300 shares, then you can do it. Like it's not as hard as you think. But then of course, like then you got to know the market. Like it's not always going to be that simple. But if you're looking for things that have that criteria, it really helps.
Right. So you mentioned shorting, and I kind of get a little nervous when I think about shorting, and so I'm like, ooh, this sounds really odd. Is that something that you use when the market's going down, like when there was a lot of fear, and so the market was crashing earlier, like in March, it was really low? Were you doing shorting then, or is that something that you do all the time? And does that protect you from a bear market?
Yes. So I think shorting is important all the time, especially when you see that a stock is coming up into an area where like I said, banks are selling. Like even if you're looking at a lot of stocks right now are at their all-time highs, and yes, they seem to keep running, which is so odd. But
Yeah,
but there's points where it's like, you know what, this stock is overvalued. It's time for it to take some money off. You can use shorting then. I do like shorting when the momentum of the overall market is down. So when you see that the overall market is down, then you have a high probability that your short will work better. I like shorting. To me, it's like you sell an I this okay, for anyone who's like, I don't know what shorting is. You sell an iPhone for $1,000 and then you go to eBay and buy it for on sale for 600, and then you just get to keep the difference. So you still make money just the same way that you buy low, sell high, but you just switch the order. You're gonna sell first high and then buy
that's
low.
a great example. That's a really good way to put that. Yeah,
Yeah, I think we do it all the time, but we don't know that it's shorting. Sell
right.
something high and buy it back low.
Very cool. Well, I have another couple questions for you. I'm really driving out a lot of information out of you, so thank you so much. Um,
You guys are getting so much for free, all my nuggets. No, I'm just
yeah.
kidding.
That's the benefit of being a podcast host.
True,
Yeah.
so true.
Um, in your bio sheet, you were talking about paying off debts with stocks. Tell me about how that works.
So I actually paid off my whole student loan with trading. I had a student loan that was $17,000, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna take this with like everything. I'm gonna take this down into bite-sized pieces, and then I'm gonna just try to trade and pay the loan off. I actually paid it off in less than 30 days, and just traded. It had my bite-sized goals and paid it down. A couple things that I will tell people. First of all, when you're thinking about paying off your debt, you need to make sure that you're a good enough trader that you're not like taking out debt in order to trade. So I don't want you maxing out a credit card or pulling over the and I've done that.
Good
So
disclaimer. Very good
right,
disclaimer. Yeah.
right. Because I think it's really hard to make money when you know that you already have an interest rate that you're gonna be paying on it. And it's a little different than margin because I think margin is a tool. And yes, it has like a very small interest rate, but at the same time, like you're using the margin with an educated trade. So you know that you're gonna make more than what you're using. But I don't want you to go and take a credit card debt because I've done that and it was like especially in the very beginning, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I didn't have a job because I was traveling. So I said, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford to travel and trade. So let me do this balance transfer for my credit card. And then I traded and lost money. That was so nerve-wracking because now I have this balance I got to pay back off and I had lost money. So now I tell people, don't do that. Don't do that. But when you become a good enough trader and you are seeing those consistent gains, then you can start using them to pay off student loans, pay for I also paid off my mortgage. So like you can start using it to pay off things when you just start using like having small bite-sized goals.
Yeah, I really like the idea of saving up, using it as a goal to buy something, right? So like we could do like an online challenge or something where we get a group of people and everybody's like, okay, what are you gonna buy? We're gonna shout it out in the comments or something, and then everybody's gonna do like a 30-day challenge to see if they can save up enough in their trading to pay for it. Because I'm thinking of some things that I want to
Ooh.
get now.
I would love to do that with you. Please let me do that with you. That'd be such a fun challenge.
Yeah,
I
that'd
think
be
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
something we can
And
talk about later.
and done. Let's yes, I'm in. I'm in. But yes, I think that also helps change that mindset. Like the myth that of the buy and hold versus trading, when you use it to pay off something, then you start realizing, oh, this is a income driving tool. I can actually use this to make short-term income. So yes, I think it'd be awesome.
Awesome. Well, I have really enjoyed talking with you, Terry. This has been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot, and I really want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just grateful that you even invited me. I appreciate it.
Cool. Well, I have learned a lot, and I would love it if the listeners of the show would come and visit your website, get your cheat sheet, not your cheat sheet, your stock watch list, which I actually am looking at right now. I have it. So
Nice.
I'm looking at it, and it's pretty good. A couple things on there that might not be the greatest, but you're going to have to go and find out. So go to Teri's site. Teri, what's the address again?
If they go to tradeandtravel.com, then they'll be able to see a free webinar of how I trade and get all the goodies and info about me. So try that, tradeandtravel.com.
Tradeandtravel.com. So go there, get the watch list, watch the webinar, and learn about how to do this. And you guys will be trading, you'll be traveling, you'll be buying stuff, paying off
Yeah.
debts, quitting your jobs, living the good life.
Yes, yes. That's the American dream right there. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not all about just sitting around doing nothing. You've got to keep a purpose in your life.
Yes.
Sitting around doing nothing gets old real quick.
It can get boring. People always ask me that. They're like, Terry, if you made, $100,000 in a day, because I just started getting into bigger numbers. They're like, if you made that much, why are you teaching people? Because it gets boring. Nobody wants to just sit in front of their computer all day. And then what? Like, it's fun to just give back.
Yep. Okay, well, I'm going to close up right here. But again, thanks a lot. Go to Teri's website, get all of her stuff. All of the links will be included in the show notes. And if you enjoyed today's show, please go and leave a nice 5-star review for us. It helps us out in the ratings, gets our promotions up there so we can get more viewers. So we really appreciate that. But again, thank you. And until the next episode of How to Trade It, stay safe, guys.